the support song. Thank you all so much for your support. Now it's time to watch a video, because I like some more support. Yeah, it's a support song. I'm so happy for your support. That's why I made a support song, because I'm better with your support. People who watch my videos know what time it is. They're exceptionally smart and they handle their biz. They wanna be entertained and not hassle for money. They know that shit ain't funny. My people ain't dummies. Ooh, thank you so much for watching my content. All the nice things you say, yeah, I ain't forgotten it. Look for more content coming down the pipe. Yeah, let's watch my videos, damn right. This is the support song. Thank you all so much for your support. Now it's time to watch a video, because I like some more support. Yeah, it's a support song. I'm so happy for your support. That's why I made a support song, because I'm better with your support. You guys are so kind and smart, and you smell really good too. Is that a new shirt? It looks great on you. Yeah, I can tell by how much you like my videos. You know what's up. Shout out to the PLWO.
Chapter 4. 2nd of 19th Special Weapons Group Barracks. Restricted Area, Western Germany. Early winter, 1989. Day 5. Nagel reached forward and hit the C key on the keyboard of my computer. We waited a minute, and then she smiled, leaning back and taking a drink out of her beer. I watched, hoping she'd hurry the hell up, when her eyes suddenly widened. She leaned forward, tapped the F1 key on the side of the computer, then typed rapidly. Last of the Mohicans. The Commodore 64 obediently turned the letters one at a time while the TV speakers blared the static that was supposed to pass for applause. Bomber and I reached forward and picked up 2 of the 3 shot glasses and snapped down the Ausbach, racing to tap our glasses back down. I beat him by a split second, and he glared at me.
"This game sucks,"
Bomber said, reaching out and grabbing the 3rd one and pulling it down. Nagel smiled as she refilled all 3. All 3 of us were in boots, BDU bottoms, and brown t-shirts. Our BDU tops were laying on Bomber's bed. We weren't supposed to be drinking, but fuck it. What was he gonna do? Bend our dog tags and send us to Germany to live on a fucking mountain? Yeah, we'll go down and tell the lieutenant to give us back the rest of my shit, I grouched at him. He glared at me for a moment while the wheel spun on the screen. That's what I thought. I nodded at the screen. Your turn. He stared at the screen for a moment, then hit F1 and typed in, "I hate this goddamn place," into the prompt. Cue the letters turning and the applause, with World War II appearing on the screen. Nagel and I each tossed down a shot, and I grabbed the 3rd one before she could and pulled it down.
"Goddamn, Ant, he's right,"
Nagel said, laughing and wiping her mouth.
"How much did you pay for this game at the PX?"
Nothing. I copied it from a dude in another unit, I answered. I reached out and flipped the switch on the side, sighing and leaning back in the chair.
"You got ripped off,"
Nagel laughed.
"Think he's still flipping his shit?"
Bomber asked, picking up the box of 5/4-inch floppies and thumbing through them. I don't know. Apparently they had to hold Hendrix back when they took his stereo after breakfast, I told them.
"What the fuck for?"
Nagel asked. She turned and looked at our room.
"Seriously, why is he taking all our shit?"
Took Hendrix' stereo for playing it too loud. Claimed there were complaints about his music, I told her.
"Fuck. Take TVs and VCRs if you have the volume too high. Take computers for security risks. Take stereos for playing music too loud,"
Bomber said, pulling out a floppy marked suspended and waving it at me.
"This any good?"
Yeah, it's like Zork. Try the impossible setting. You'll like it, I told him. His eyes brightened at the mention of his favorite game. I nursed my beer while John flipped back on the computer, which saved because we'd convinced the lieutenant that the VIC-20 in my wall locker was nothing more than a fancy cartridge game system and not really a computer by plugging in Pirate Island, one of the tech's game cartridges, before flipping it on and telling him that the C64 was just the next step up. It was a suck game, but hey, it let me keep the computers, and it wasn't like I didn't have a million fucking discs for them. The Amiga and the IBM were long fucking gone, though. Bastard. After about 5 turns, John turned to me while Nagel laughed and pointed at the screen. Nice going, John. You suck at that game, I told him. Everyone died. You're supposed to save them, dumbass.
You're a dick.
John told me, starting the game over. You'll need the map and the counters, I told him, pulling open the desk drawer and digging them out. After about 10 minutes, he was lost in the effort of trying to save people and cursing as he tried to figure out what the robots were fucking saying. Nagel was listening to her Walkman and watching, and I got bored pretty quick. I reached over and grabbed a copy of the AD&D Player's Handbook off the desk where we tossed it the night before and started thumbing through it. A beer bottle cap bounced off my chest and dropped into my lap. I looked up, and Nagel had her t-shirt pulled up and no bra. She wiggled her tits at me and raised her eyebrows. I jerked my head at the bathroom and she nodded. Hey John, we're gonna hit the showers, I told him, standing up. She jumped up and ran over by the door to the hallway and the door to the bathroom, stripping her shirt off and bouncing up and down. Shh, he told me, waving one hand at me and studying the TV screen closely. Patting his shoulder to let him know I was going, I walked toward her, pulling off my shirt, and she vanished into the bathroom with a laugh. I hurried toward the bathroom, undoing my belt real fast. I reached the door, my eyes on her naked torso and her large breasts. She smiled at me and reached forward, and slammed the door, then locked me out of the bathroom. John didn't even look up as I dropped back into my chair, grabbing the book again. We sat in silence while she showered, Bomber mumbling to himself as he tried to figure out how exactly each robot worked and swearing under his breath at the one that spouted poetry. When she came back out, Bomber had a tablet of paper and a pencil and was jotting notes, staring at the screen, and I had my notebook out and was taking notes for an idea I'd had while John and I had to listen to her masturbate loudly in the shower. Ruffling our hair as she passed, Nagel walked to the fridge to grab another beer. She'd put on her clothes in the bathroom.
Gonna restart. Better score.
He mumbled, and I nodded, still thumbing through the book. Nagel put her Walkman back on and laid on the bottom bunk of the bunk beds, laying against her pillows and staring at the drawers above her and sipping on her beer. Outside, the wind howled and my ears popped. I looked up to see Bomber looking at me, and I could see Nagel sitting up.
Storm,
Bomber said, and I nodded, getting up and walking over to the window. I pulled open the curtains and saw one of those surreal sights that were so common up where we lived. You could see the slate-gray clouds towering, watching them come at you, and up the mountain I could see a solid wall of white devouring everything in front of it.
Oh shit,
Nagel said.
So much for the roads getting cleared,
Bomber told me. He'd stepped up right behind me. We watched as the wave of white swept over the motor pool and then crashed against the window, an almost solid wall of big fat snowflakes covering the window almost instantly.
Think he's out there?
Bomber asked quietly, reaching forward to touch his fingers against the glass. My shoulder throbbed, a cold spike driving deep into the joint.
It's snowing,
Nagel answered softly, and took another drink off her beer. And he knows we're separated, I said. Today's Friday. That means nobody will expect to hear from us till Monday.
Blizzard,
Bomber breathed. There wasn't really anything else to say. Shit.
Wanna play D&D?
Nagel asked, pulling off her headphones. I could hear Pink Floyd faintly from her headphones.
Why not? Might as well pass the time till they do bed check,
Bomber said, turning around and walking back to the computer.
Let me save my game and hook back up the Vic.
I grabbed the map and flipped it out on the floor while Nagel grabbed the box of figures. Then we spent time rolling dice and arguing over the rules while we nursed the few beers we rationed ourselves. Beer was running low, but we had plenty of hard alcohol. Outside, the wind was howling, and several times our ears popped as the pressure changed suddenly. At 16:45, we took turns swishing Listerine and went to head out the door. PFC Oak stood outside the door, with some asshole I didn't really know but recognized. She had a nasty smile on her face, and an M16A1 in her hands.
Get back in the room,
She said, lifting the rifle and pointing it at my face.
The CO said you guys aren't allowed to leave your room.
The other guy said. You've got about 2 seconds, I warned her.
Or fucking what?
She asked me, taking a half step forward and bringing it up to her shoulder. She laid her face against the stock, looking at me through the sight. Or I'll fucking feed it to you, I told her, stepping forward so it was against my throat. What now, bitch? She stared at me for a long moment, then stepped back.
The lieutenant's gonna fix your ass.
Whatever, I told her, stepping back into my room. One of these days you're gonna point a weapon at me and I'm gonna kill you. When she opened her mouth to reply, I slammed the door and locked it.
What the fuck is going on?
Nagel asked. Who fucking cares? I snarled, stopping back to sit down. Fuck it, let's play. Nagel and John nodded, and we went back to playing D&D. The banging of the door opening wasn't a huge surprise. My alarm clock said it was 9 p.m., 2100 hours. Time for check-in, to use the lieutenant's phrase. We'd already put the gaming stuff away and hidden the alcohol again. He'd smell it, but so far he'd contented himself with just searching our wall lockers. We jumped off our beds and stood at the end of the beds at parade rest. Nagel standing in front of the bunk beds. Dumbass. In strode our lord and master, the king of the mountain, the tyrant of the rock, First Lieutenant Reginald Gregors, ROTC graduate, class of 1988. I was pretty sure that some jackass in first cav was laughing his ass off every time he thought about how he dumped this goddamn moron on us. I was pretty sure they'd offered him a waiver for promotion if he agreed to take the slot here, and from what I'd seen of this asshole, he'd struck me as the type that would have jumped on the waiver like a hooker onto a cock wrapped with $50 bills. He stopped in the middle of the room, looking around, then checked the room for dust, kicked at the laundry bags near the floor and hefted mine, staring at all of us the whole time. His uniform was starting to show a bit of wear from being the only one he had, but his rank was gleaming. The radiator groaned and rumbled, and he broke off from staring at Bomber and fingering his rank to stare at the heater for a long moment. I could almost hear the wheels turning in his head as he tried to figure out a way to blame this on us.
Enjoying your vacation, soldiers?
He suddenly asked, breaking the silence and turning away from the radiator.
Yes, sir.
We chorused. We'd learned. Only answer yes or no. That's all he wanted. Anything else, he broke in and mocked you. He stopped in front of me and leaned forward until his nose was almost touching mine.
I read your files. I don't trust the three of you.
His voice was low, soft, and deadly.
I think that you're KGB plants, and that the Soviets replaced 3 soldiers they killed with you 3 fuck-ups. Do you hate America, Corporal Ant?
No, sir, I answered. No, sir, he mocked, twisting his voice into a high-pitched whine.
I've looked at the pictures and read the files extensively, and I don't understand why people seem to think you are who you're pretending to be.
He moved over to Nagel, stopping in front of her and reaching up a finger to trace it down the scar on the side of her face.
For example, the soldier in the pictures contained in the PRP file of one Nancy Nagel has no facial scars. Where did you get that scar, comrade? Georgia?
He turned back to me, and I could hear Nancy breathing through gritted teeth. He licked his middle and index finger before he reached his hand up and pressed his fingers against the lenses of my glasses, rubbing the fingers on my lenses.
Corporal Ant didn't wear glasses, comrade,
he told me, smiling. He turned away from me and I had to restrain an urge to wrap my left arm around his neck, grab my left wrist, and rotate my arm to the left, hard. He stopped in front of Bomber and smiled at him.
You remember the Alamo, comrade?
Yes, sir, Bomber answered, and I could see his knuckles whitening.
Learned all about the Alamo in those Texas schools, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Who was in command of the Alamo?
Gregors asked. James Bowie and William B. Travis, sir, John answered. Who is in command of the Mexican forces? Santa Anna, sir.
Over 500 Mexicans were killed, weren't there?
Yes, sir.
Name them,
Gregors demanded. There was a silence for a long moment, the lieutenant smiling at Bomber and reaching up to rub his silver rank pin.
That's what I thought,
Gregors hissed, turning away and walking towards the short hallway that led to the door. He stopped, did a perfect about face, and stared at us.
You may have fooled everyone else, but you don't fool me.
His eyes swept over us.
From here on out, you will not attend any formations as I previously instructed, and you will not leave this room under any circumstances. I don't want you contaminating my men or reporting what we're doing to your masters in Moscow.
With those words, he grabbed up the VIC-20, swept out of the room, and locked the door behind him. Nagel screamed, kicking a chair across the room, and scrubbed her cheek with one hand. Bomber was standing there shaking, and I pulled off my glasses and slowly cleaned them on my shirt.
I'm gonna fucking kill him. I swear to God, I'm going to fucking kill him.
Nagel screamed. I took a step forward and grabbed her. For fuck's sake, shut up, I hissed. If he hears you, he'll take it as an excuse to have us fucking shot. I saw her eyes widen. Yeah, I don't think he's all fucking there.
Gee, Ant, you think?
Bomber asked, sitting down on his bed.
Name them. Jesus, he's just looking for shit, isn't he?
What are we gonna do?
Nagel asked, staring at me. Her nostrils were flared and she was breathing heavy. We're going to behave ourselves and hope that someone higher ranking than him comes back before he has us put up against a wall and shot, I answered, pulling up the chair and sitting down.
Christ, what a lash-up. Think he'd go that far?
Bomber asked, looking up.
I mean, seriously, you can't just fucking start shooting us.
Like anyone would notice until it was too late.
Nagel said, her voice thick and hoarse.
They didn't exactly come roaring to our rescue last winter.
Bomber and I nodded. We sat in silence for a while, each thinking our thoughts, until the key could be heard in the lock. I jumped down off my top bunk while John and Nancy stood up, and together we walked over to where we could see down the short hallway. 5 guys stood there, all of them from one unit. One of them had a pistol in his hands, and he looked kind of sheepish about it. The others had 3 or 4 boxes of MREs in their arms, which they set down in the entryway before backing up out the door. The lieutenant stepped into the doorway, smiling. Behind him, Oakes was sneering at me, her eyes hard in the reflection of the lights.
Don't think you can go anywhere. We'll be checking on you now and then,
he told us, then shut the door. The key was loud in the lock and he locked us in the room. Faintly we heard,
then shoot the communist bastards.
I looked at Bomber and shrugged. It wasn't like I couldn't just unlock it from our side, except PFC Oakes and a rifle on the other side.
It's going to be a long winter,
Bomber repeated.